Up until now, I've covered movies that were largely bound to the laws of Hollywood physics, due to the corporeal limitations of pesky, live-action humans. But take off the existential training wheels, and we're still left with a relatable, human story written for the silver screen. Written by writers, all of whom either plan ahead or don't. It's my enduring belief that every movie adheres to the exact same 29-point story structure, no matter which type of writer pens the tale. The Nightmare Before Christmas is my Exhibit D. A tight focus on the core elements of the protagonist's personality, inner conflict, and situation. Jack Skellington is absolutely the protagonist of this spooky tale, but the unusual world is a character unto itself. The opening musical number explores Halloween Town in all its stylistic, flavorful, and absurd glory. A masterpiece. And Jack is the center to it all. Where, why, and how the protagonists exist in their world, where they focus on why they don't quite fit in. Sally longs to escape her life of servitude and acquiescence, which serves as a dramatic metaphor for Jack's generalized angst. How much is Jack willing to sacrifice to escape his situation? His aforementioned angst is relayed via song. A singular event that's never happened before and is destined to lead the protagonist away from their status quo. Sally now knows that she's not alone. Jack is her displaced soulmate. An examination of what's different in light of the something new, what's the same in spite of it, and how it deepens the conflict with the status quo. Sally can't yet escape her misery, not when she feels, tied to it. Lost in his angsty walk, Jack isn't home when the status quo comes calling about next year's musical number. The discovery that things are less than ideal, or an exploration of how badly things are. Jack wanders somewhere new and finds something strange and amiss, a grove of holiday doors. He even sings a song about not knowing what the F is going on. The protagonist dedicates their effort to a specified goal, which is almost always smaller in scope or scale to the primary objective that dominates the third act. The mayor coordinates the search teams around Jack's disappearance. Sally proves she's capable of escaping her situation over and over again, but she's always drawn back home. A brief checklist of the story elements needed for the second act and how they might be utilized. Jack in a decidedly proto-Santa position. Sally all wholesomely devious. The whole town gets in on it, but no one seems to understand the nuances of Christmas Town. The singular event that launches the protagonist into the wild jungle of the second act, also called an oh shit moment. Jack's translation of Santa Claus dooms his plan from the start. Oh shit. The protagonist must learn all new rules and expectations distinct to this adventure. Jack literally reads up on the subject, while Sally suffers a new level of imprisonment, and Jack recruits the help of the only critical thinker in town. The protagonist showcases their ability to grow in the areas this adventure requires, typically through external means. Jack has the tools in hand, and his experiment can begin. It always leans back to the spooky though. Sally figures out a new escape. Characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, or desires. None of this makes sense to Jack. Then a Halloween beauty offers polite respite, the quality of which is unrivaled by what she provides the evil scientist, if her adorable crush isn't obvious enough. This is just a bad omen. A tightly packed series of problems that vex the protagonist at damn near every turn. Through song, we learn that the town is worried about Jack's newfound preoccupation. And through song, Jack tells us every aggravation, frustration, annoyance, setback, and riddle that he's dealt with off-screen. His hurdle crescendos into the inevitable conclusion to plagiarize someone else's work without a proper understanding of its context. The protagonist evolves internally by utilizing everything they've gathered and learned. Just as in the Halloween celebration, everyone has a part to play, and their expertise will be tested. Lock, Shock, and Barrel make their debut by Jack's invitation, full well knowing who they work for. Journey-weary characters reconcile the reality of their ongoing situation with who they were in the first act. We're treated to a song about all the different ways the troublesome trio will betray Jack's intentions, including feeding Santa to their boss. A singular event that strikes at the protagonist's core conflict. Oogie Boogie sabotage of Jack's hard-fought plan is guaranteed. Characters find a safe harbor that also provides needed answers for both external and internal conflicts. The music is coming together, and according to Prime Video, this version of Jingle Bells is a cover of a Frank Sinatra track. Nice. Sally finally gets the chance to explain her bad omen, but Jack is too delirious with her plan to hear her. The protagonist's clarified objective from the first act is realized in part or in whole, though it's meaningless without the completion of the primary objective. The trick-or-treaters pull off the kidnapping, but they nab the wrong holiday icon, and the town charges full steam ahead with the appropriation of a holiday they just don't get. So important is this contrast between Halloween Christmas and Christmas Christmas that this sequence is the longest in the film, weighing in at over 6 minutes. Some sequences earlier haven't lasted 2 minutes. This is a shockingly short movie. An existential conflict that wounds the protagonist's sense of self, worldly identity, and their journey. The troublesome trio arrives at Santa's house during his final preparations. Jack recognizes something is critically wrong, but the successful kidnapping of Santa seems to put everything back on track. An undeniable win for the protagonist, typically in direct connection to the Rebirth. Santa is sent to be kept out of the way, though granted Jack doesn't know that the trip ends in Oogie Boogie's lair. Sally resolves to stop her soulmate the only way she knows how. A grand loss directly connected to the protagonist's newfound inability to quit the journey. Jack's blindness to anything beyond his Christmas plan has placed Santa in the hands of the boogeyman. A thematic freefall tied directly to the heavy price. Sally poisons the water hole, and Jack, an expert on Christmas lore, is shattered that a fog will ruin his gift-giving flight to the children. Zero to the rescue. Oh no. A singular event that robs the protagonist of seemingly any chance for success. The man who knows nothing about Christmas, backed by people who know nothing about Christmas, has set course for Christmastown with Santa Claus in custody. The odds aren't good for a happy ending. The protagonist cannot return to their starting persona and must turn to face the primary objective. Sally accepts that her romantic longing will always be unrequited. Jack descends upon Christmastown, and the true nightmare before Christmas is realized. Those poor, unprepared therapists. And the military is called in. Christmastown possesses heavy artillery. What the fuck? The protagonist moves toward the climax while utilizing the major swings and sneaky misdirections of the story. Santa is the only one who can set things right. Sally's patchwork limbs prove useful in a prison break. Jack's heart breaks when he realizes the people have turned on him. Everything is wrong. It's all so very wrong again. Jack concludes that all the harm he caused was for good intentions, so call it a mulligan. Now let's put everything back in place. The final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic force. The innocent bystanders are in proper danger, and the timing is just right for the hero to emerge from the shadows. Ah, there he is. Face to face, villain v hero. Jack handles the phases of the battle like a seasoned RPG character who's seen it all before. The singular event where the protagonist finally confronts their place in the status quo. Jack grabs a loose thread, and it's curtains for Oogie. The direct aftermath of the climax, the cinematic denouement, if you will. Jack offers amends to Santa, and properly notices Sally now that his fog of obsession has cleared. The consequences of the climax in relation to other characters in the status quo. Santa speeds around to return Christmas cheer to all the traumatized girls and boys. Jack rolls back into Halloween Town, delighted that he's not as dead as they think he might have been. I'm a little hazy on what's spooky dead in this world and what's dead, so I'm just taking my cues from the crowd. Santa stops through to offer a happy Halloween, which Jack responds with Merry Christmas, because it's literally that easy to respect others' holidays. Finally, they get a taste of a true Christmas. A tight focus on the protagonist contrasted from the opening. What it means to live like Jack and Sally if you want. And for good measure, here's 0. And there you have it, my 4th example to support my argument that all movies follow the exact same story structure, regardless of how the writer approaches their craft. The Nightmare Before Christmas hurried through the 29-point story structure, but every beat is present and in order. My question to you, is this stylistic holiday cult favorite a fraternal twin to a home defense tutorial that ignores every liability law on the books? Of course, that answer is a resounding yes. Yes, it absolutely is. Please subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos, and please like and comment with your thoughts and reactions. I'll talk at you next time.